The new standard of piracy when it comes to reading any manhwa, and even some manga these days is completely different than what it was when I first started reading only just 5-ish years ago. Back then, it seemed like no matter what site you read on, no matter which comic you read, you were able to get every single chapter that came out for a comic essentially for free. It was getting translated by different translation teams. Some either would just stop translating it and it'd be picked up by others, or some that were just being translated by the same all the way through. And even some that were being translated a few years ago that you didn't have to essentially pay to read the latest chapters on, that you're now having to pay on a lot. Almost pretty much any good translation site, scanlator, translator, whatever you want to call it, any piracy site that does their own translations these days, it seems you're locked behind at least some sort of paywall. And for me, I can't really say I'm against it. Like I completely understand why these pirate sites want to try and make money off of these chapters and that they're translating. They have like servers they have to run and pay the people who translate and whatnot. So like I understand the idea behind it, but to me it just seems like it's such a bad direction, at least for most readers. And I mean I could like you could just say that I'm saying that because I want to just read it for free. And like I don't like I'm not gonna deny that. Like it'd be nice to see a comic, read all of the chapters that are there for it, and not have to pay to read any of them. Yes, but it seems the direction that we are moving in the industry for piracy sites, and along with just most translations in general regarding of the site that you use. Like there are those sites that post the free chapters from these scanlation sites, but if you go to these sites themselves, you do have to end up either paying coins or their own type of currency or a subscription. And it's, I don't want to say it's ruining the industry, but it's ruining the piracy aspect of it to where a lot of people that I've seen have just stopped reading in general because sorry, they just don't want to pay. Like they don't want to have to pay or wait an indefinite amount of time to read those chapters that are locked behind a paywall. And do I think it's a bad thing? I say it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because, at least from what I can tell, most of the sites that you have to pay for, the translations are good. It's not like you're paying for a not great translation. Although there is like one that I think one piracy site that doesn't really have that great a translation, then they still expect you to pay. So like when it comes to that, I don't think that's great in any aspect. But I guess like it was inevitable that it was bound to happen, considering that whenever there's an official translation for these comics, you have to pay to read them. And you could tell slowly over time that the way the piracy industry was going, it was going in the direction of paywalling certain chapters or certain comics and whatnot. So I wouldn't be surprised if we keep going in that direction. To me, it feels like this will be the new standard of piracy going forward, whether anyone really likes it or not. I don't see it going away anytime soon. I don't think it'll ever go away, honestly, at this point, with how, as long as the official English translation, like as long as there's comics that people want to read that don't get an official English translation, there are going to be just not a monopoly, but there's going to be plenty of comics that these piracy sites can translate that aren't getting translated to make money off of. And unfortunately, I just feel like that is going to be the new standard going forward, regardless of Yeah, you can say that you can read for free on certain websites, but those websites might not have all the chapters of that comic because the latest chapters of that comic might be paywalled from the people translating it. Now, I'm not saying every comic is going to be paywalled or every piracy site is going to force you to pay. There are still free ones out there. There are still comics that aren't having any chapters paywalled. But I feel like as we shift into the piracy sites either making you pay coins or making you subscribe to their services, I feel like it's going to become more of a norm to pay than not to pay. And it's quite sad to see after reading all these years for free, but I think with how everything is moving and just in general the industry, I feel like it was inevitable that we would eventually get to this point and that going forward it will only happen more often. But basically, I just wanted to talk about that, and I mean, maybe I'll be surprised, and who knows, months from now or years from now, we won't be paying anything to read any chapters. But I feel the new norm, so to say, for piracy is going to be these translation sites paywalling certain chapters of certain comics as a way to make money to keep their services going, and for the inevitable when it comes down to these official publishing sites coming to shut them down, obviously they're going to need some money to either fight back or at least make it worth going through the hassle. So, but that was about it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.